What's up, everybody? This is Mark from SolarGames, and today we're going to do SolarGames Ask SolarGames Anything, Part 3. Okay, so continuing right off the bat, Dark Aura Lord asks, what are your favorite MTG cards for collection purposes? And do you enjoy the collection aspect of any other TCGs currently? Yes, absolutely. What are my favorite cards? I'm sorry. I know. Like everyone I love the old cards because a lot of them were hand drawn and that artwork, the detail is just so there. If you ever want to know what I mean, look at a card, for example, drawn by Therese Nielsen. Mark Poole. Look at cards from like RK Post early days. Chris Rush. I mean, I don't think he needs any introduction. These kind of artists, look at the artwork and look at the details they put in, and look at like even you can see the strokes of their pen or of brush to make that painting. It's amazing. So those are the kind of cards I like. Obviously, if they have some monetary financial value, that's even better because that makes it so that I don't have to lose money collecting things I like. So there's that. But yeah, in general, the older cards are always my favorites because, again, the way that were framed, the way that they were drawn, it was just so much better. I know, today there's obviously a lot of like pretty cool artwork still. I think even some of the cards coming out from recent sets are pretty cool, but they just don't look the same. They don't have that same feeling as a hand-drawn painting from back in the old school days. A lot of them are digital now, and there are some hand-drawn paintings still, but a lot of the artwork is digital, and I have not been a big fan of a lot of the showcase cards recently. So all the showcase is kind of lost on me. I think the only ones I like were like the Kaldheim ones. So I actually have a small little collection of every single one of those dual color Kaldheim, I think, legendaries, just in a binder because I just kind of like looking at them, and in showcase with all the like Celtic framing. I like that, but otherwise, a lot of the stuff recently just not really my thing. Other than those, I think some of the more like shiny cards, for example, like Kaladesh Inventions. Personally, I'm actually a fan of Amonkhet Invocations. Maybe I'm the only one. The original Zendikar Expeditions are so beautiful. I mean, you should look at those cards and you'll see why they command the high price that they do. The way that they did the foiling was just so much better than what they did in the new Expeditions and Zendikar Rising. So there's that. Second part of the question is, do you collect any other... do you enjoy the collection aspect of any other TCG currently? I have a couple Pokemon cards. I think that but they're not. I guess they're collections because they're collections of when I was a kid, right? Like my Venusaur. If you're my friend from when I was 10, I know some of you guys are watching out there actually. You know the day that I pulled that Venusaur from that pack, and you know how happy I was. And this is a base set, right? So base set unlimited. So not first edition, not like the first edition with all the green, like the shadowless stuff, right? This is just base set unlimited Venusaur. Oh my gosh. I remember opening that pack and it was just a one pack because back then we didn't have money. Like I couldn't buy a box. I opened one pack. I got Venusaur. Bro, I ran that Venusaur deck for like, I don't know, a whole year. I ran that green deck for a whole year. Leaf deck. Sorry. I'm magic right now. Yeah, so yes, there's a bunch of, I guess, Pokemon cards I really like. They're from my childhood. I will never sell them. I have a Voltorb that's bent in half. Shadowless, I think. That's a really cool story. I will tell that story one of these days on the channel. You guys are going to enjoy that story. That also happened when I was 10. So there's that. But other than those two, currently, I'm really into Grand Archive. Honestly, I don't have anything super expensive from Grand Archive yet, but I am collecting a couple things from it. I just think but as long as the game continues, I'm sure I'll have more. Right now, I'm mostly playing that game, not really collecting it yet, but I'm sure there will be things I'm collecting in the future for Grand Archive. Okay, Dark Elder asks, thoughts on upcoming games that you didn't already cover in the recent video when you mentioned a bunch of them. Most of them already doomed before they can start. And what time frame would you usually take before deciding to carry a new product, or is that just by customer demand, like Lorcana? Yeah, so are there any games that I didn't cover? Honestly, no. There's nothing that I saw recently that I didn't really talk about. Again, that video was super brief. I didn't really even put a lot of effort into kind of researching every single game. I just noted that there are a lot of them. I think really top three that everybody should be watching for the next year or so is Lorcana, definitely, Sorcery, Grand Archive, and probably man, there's like one more that I'm missing. But yeah, those are probably the ones that I would say like really take some time and review it and investigate it and see if you like them and see if they have legs. I think the way that the creators are building them, I definitely see what they're trying to do, and I can see that there are a lot of like possibilities and potential in those kind of games. So just be on the lookout. I would say if you're one of the people who are kind of thinking, hey, can I do this whole thing as a financial thing or a storage of your wealth? I would say if you enjoy some of these card games enough, if you look at, for example, Sorcery and say that's for you, I would buy a couple boxes now. I would probably keep some sealed because again, the way that you should always evaluate whether you put money into a game or not is simply, would you enjoy playing this game if it had no value? The whole game dies, the creators don't support it anymore, would you still play this game? If the answer to that question is yes, you can invest in it. Because likely, two reasons. One, if you like it, other people probably do too. Meaning, like I tell my friends all the time, if tomorrow Wizard of the Coast dies and like Magic is dead and no one picks it up, no other company buys the IP, right? Every booster box will go up instantly. And they're going to continue going up because once you open a booster, you can't unopen it. I don't care how much product's out there, all the booster boxes are going to go up. Number two, if you like the game, even if no one in the world likes it, you can still play. You can probably play with some of your friends. I guess if no one in the world likes it, you're kind of doomed. But likely your friends, local circle, are going to play. And so that means that likely the boxes still have value to you. Like I can see myself drafting Magic in like when I'm like 50. And wouldn't it be cool if I like, right now nobody cares, like pulling out like Streets of New Capenna or like War of the Spark. Who cares, right? But imagine 30 years from now, you pull out a box of, War of the Spark and you draft it. How cool would that be? You know what I mean? Like, it feels like you're drafting like alpha, that like vintage feeling, right? So that's the beauty of having something like that sealed long term. It really has that kind of like really nice, like, man, I could do that. I could access the thing that's 30 years old, and just have it. So there's that. How long do I wait before I carry? It really depends. I think it is demand based for sure. Like what I've seen with Grand Archive is definitely strong. But I didn't carry Grand Archive because people asked me. It would actually happen the other way. I carry Grand Archive because I saw the potential in this game. I liked it. I liked it enough to say, you know what? If nobody else wants to buy it, I will keep all the boxes that I have. It doesn't matter. So that's why I carry Grand Archive, and that's where I am right now with that. Okay. Dean Fong asks, what's your origin story? How did you get introduced to Magic? Did you ever quit and come back? What is the most valuable card in your collection if you still play? What is your favorite format? Do you play Arena? What do you think about Arena in regards to cannibalizing paper? Is Arena good or bad for the hobby? Okay, so lots of questions, but I kind of dissect this into basically how did you start in Magic, right? And then, what was the story around that? What's the most valuable card in your collection, which I've already talked about. Actually, I don't know if the Viscera Seer is the most valuable collection. It may be a different card, so I'll show you that in a sec. And then if you still play, what is your favorite format? And okay, so and then a bunch of things about Arena. So let's answer the easy ones. Arena, I tried it for 2 years. I don't like Arena. I think Arena is killing Magic. And I don't say that ironically or clickbaity. I do think that Wizard of the Coast was really dumb to release Arena. It's a good client. It definitely is a way to allow players to go play with each other. But the way that Arena is, it burns people out too quickly. Like, who wants to go buy and play paper when they have access to Arena and they grind out like 100 games, each whatever week? You kind of lose, that kind of like thing that you're looking forward to. I like the fact that Grand Archive doesn't have a digital client, at least not easily, accessible. I look forward to going to my game stores, on the weekends to go play Grand Archive for like the week, and I'm spending the whole week kind of like theorizing and crafting decks. And it's kind of nice to have that break and not feel like I need to be able to, stay on top of the meta all the time. So I like the fact that, if a card game has paper formats, I think it's obviously, like Hearthstone, right? Where there's no paper formats, it doesn't matter. You just have Arena, it's fine. The problem is Arena is actually cannibalizing paper for sure. Okay. And the second question is, what's the most valuable card in your collection? I think that Viseer is pretty high up there because it's just, again, it's very personal to me. But, I have a couple other, like, I don't know, reserve list cards. I don't even know what prices of some things are nowadays. Like, so I have a couple of alpha cards. I have not been fortunate enough to go purchase enough alpha cards, but there's always chance in the future. I think for a long time, the most valuable card in my collection is my Tabernacle of Penderel Vale. But I think that's no longer the most valuable, I believe. But again, I have not looked at my large collection for a long time. They still sit there, and I kind of sometimes like flip through them, whatever, but there's that. Okay, so origin story. So basically, how do I describe this? I guess we just talk about SolarGames, how SolarGames was born. Well, the origin story of that basically is around like, hey, my friends, so I used to play Magic a long time ago, like I think it was like 7th grade, and how I did that was I was playing Pokemon, as you remember, my Leaf deck, I was beating everyone, and we would play for antes, if you remember that. And I think I was playing somebody, and they didn't have any cards to ante for Pokemon, so they said, can I ante up my Magic deck? And that's how I basically got a deck of Magic cards. I think this is like a black deck that had like Lord of the Pit, Howl from Beyond, those kind of cards. And I just thought black was such a cool color, like had regeneration, it had shades. Oh my gosh, I love shades, man. Like it just like feels really good when I swing into somebody, right, with all my mana open, and they are like, okay, no blocks. I'm like, cool, tap, 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 right, and then I'm like casting Dark Rituals, and I'm suddenly swinging for like 15 damage. It feels really nice. So I love shades. It's so cool, especially that one shade. If you guys remember in Tempest, I think, that had like regeneration and it was a shade. Now it's pretty weak because you have to pay like 3 and a black, I think, to cast a 1/1. But once you get it out there, man, like they're not doing anything to that thing because like, oh, you're gonna shock it, pump, 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 pump. Now it's like a 4/4, right? So you have ways to kind of prevent other people from doing any messing with it, basically. So it's kind of cool. Probably shades are not that great, right? But obviously, what I liked them when I was a kid. So there's that. But basically, I quit Magic around like high school, I think, when high school began. And I didn't really touch Magic at all until college. One of my friends wanted to play Magic. I found it he played, so we tried to play. Of course, me coming up with my like Shades deck plus Avatar of Woe is nowhere at all near the power level what he had. I'm pretty sure now I think about it because I didn't understand what his deck was doing. He had like, it was a blue deck, but he only had like one creature. So half the time he's just countering my stuff and then like shuffling his cards back into his deck type of thing. Yeah, so suffice to say, I did not have fun at all playing against him. And that was the first and last game I played in college, for Magic. So I threw my cards back in the box and didn't look at them for a long time. And then, of course, there's that. Of course, come like around 2019, pandemic was happening, like a lot of like, different things. Modern Horizons 1 was happening. And then at first it was like, okay, look, I need to store my money somewhere. I don't really like the fact that like it's basically stock, whatever, and nothing else. So I was like, well, I kind of like Magic cards. I think they're kind of cool looking. Maybe I could just put some money into that stuff. And then I bought Modern Horizons 1 at the low, like really low time. And I remember going and hanging out with some of my friends who were doing a Modern Horizons 1 draft. And I was not drafting because I basically was like, I'm not spending any money on Magic, right? And this is around the same time that also like I was playing Arena too, because I kind of got back into Arena a little bit. And so I was doing that. I was grinding Arena, realizing how much of wasted time it was. So it's kind of stupid. And of course, like, I see people playing paper, and I realized maybe putting money into paper is not so bad because you have the cards, you can look at them. And then of course, then I around that time I also put in about like maybe a year and a half or 2 years watching Rudy's videos and really learning about the whole market of that site before I even put my purchase in for Modern Horizons 1, realizing it's pretty low, right? I think I paid around like 150, I want to say, for Modern Horizons 1 draft boosters. So there's a low price point there for you. But basically, I realized that, and then I kind of started going heavy around 2020, and that's it. I mean, basically, I started buying sealed, singles, everything, collections, everything. I mean, I think it was like the March of 2020, when the entire economy was going to shit and all that stuff. I remember going and buying like a couple sets of dual lands, like knowing nothing. I remember getting a set of like dual lands, sitting in my car after the transaction is all done. I think I paid like a couple thousand, 2,000 maybe, around that time was the right pricing for that. I'm sitting in my car. I'm sweating like crazy because I have no clue if I just got like screwed over. These are fake cards or real cards. I didn't have all the knowledge to look. I didn't have comparables, right? I did have a jeweler's loop, but that's it. Like, I was such a noob back then. I have no clue what real cards were, right? I remember also I bought from that gentleman 2 Mox Diamonds and some duels. Anyways, so I'm sitting in my car. I'm like sweating, and that's like, I go home and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I did this transaction. I'm so scared. Like, da, da, da. Lucky for me, at least in the early days, I didn't make a mistake, and so it was okay. It turned out all my cards were real, and of course later on I had to learn all the tests and whatever, and pretty much that's how SolarGames happened. It's just like me starting to do a little bit, buying more sealed products, and I can even see now, like around the time when I started buying products to now, like the amount of increase in boxes is like, it just crescendos, right? It's like an exponential increase. I mean, for example, like I think on hand I may have like a case of War of the Spark, right? Around that time, like maybe like 1 or 2 cases of Ravnica, Allegiance, and Guilds, right? And then, like, of course, now looking at like Streets of New Capenna or something like that, it was like, okay, 6 cases, that kind of level of inventory. So completely different, right? Obviously, moving forward. So there's that. So yeah, that's the origin story of SolarGames. Okay, so MTG Unpacked asks, how did you first become involved with the cardboard life, and what made you gravitate towards the business side of things? So slightly different question than origin story. So that's that. The cardboard life obviously is, me hanging out with my friends, so answered already. But why did you gravitate towards the business side? I think, so let me tell you another really fun story, right? So ever since I was a little kid, I just realized there's like part of me, there's like a gene thing or something that draws me to always make something into economic or business type of thing. Maybe it's because like my grandma, actually, I think it runs in my family on my grandma's side. On my mom's side, grandma's side, they were like a family of merchants or something like that. I don't know. Maybe there's like some genetic thing, because I don't know my like great grandfather, who's apparently like a silver merchant back in China, like a long time ago. But like I used to, as a kid, my grandma would set up like, like in China, this is like basically she's a street vendor. She would like have a cloth and she'd lay out all her stuff and whatever. I would sometimes go to the distribution places to go buy stuff with her and import, right? And then sell stuff, all that stuff. So there's a little bit of that, I think, when I was a kid. It definitely affected me at growing up to have seen that, to experienced it. But really for me, like, I don't know why it is this way, but every single game I play, every single thing I do, it just slowly becomes a financial thing. I think part of that, really, the numbers, the like figuring out ways to make money just makes me kind of happy. And even if it's a very minimal amount of money, it makes me very happy. Here's some examples. Ragnarok Online, if you ever played that video game. I got so good at the merchant side of that game, and I was playing on a private server because I didn't have enough money to go pay for a monthly subscription from the official server. But on my private server, which is like I think what they call is like a normal server, meaning the rates aren't crazy. By rates, I mean like, so on private servers, there was a thing that people would do is they would increase the drop rates of the of the items or money or whatever experience to make the server kind of move faster. So there's that. Anyways, it's a normal server, meaning that the rates aren't ridiculous, like X2 rates or something like that. Not like X10. I've played on servers where like X1000, right? So you could instantly level max or something stupid like that. That's not what I was doing. But anyway, so in a server like this, the car, the items, the stuff like that matters. And so like I remember at first I played like Hunter or whatever was my class. But very soon I was like, I'm gonna be a blacksmith so I can go craft stuff for other people. And merchant it all out. So I would have like merchant accounts. So I have like my computers and they would all be running merchants all day. When I'm at school, my little like shopkeeper is just sitting there selling stuff. And then when I get home, I like collect my money, transfer it between accounts, etc. Diablo 2, same thing. I was the guy dealing on the trade channels. There was a website called like D2 Trades or something, if you guys remember. That was like the unofficial way to go trade with each other in Diablo. So you would list items like eBay style on that website. They even have like ranking and feedback like eBay style. And you get like a little gem that turns into like a perfect socket gem or whatever. Anyway, so I was doing that for Diablo 2, and I made a lot of Stone of Jordans, man. Like SOJ, by the way, for the people who didn't play Diablo 2, was the currency. Think of it like it's $1. So everything is measured by the amount of SOJs you would give somebody. And anything less than SOJ would be usually traded in what we call gems, chip gems or whatever. So that's the general currency of Diablo. Nobody cares about gold in Diablo 2. So SOJ was the thing, Stone of Jordan. And this ring was really cool because it's a ring that you put on and you get +1 to all your skills. So it's actually kind of useful. That's why it became the currency as well. And then, of course, when I played, let's see, what else did I play? Guild Wars, yes, the same thing. Merchanting all day, figuring out what materials people want, whatever. When I played World of Warcraft, holy crap, dude. World of Warcraft was when I played and market so hard. Basically, I dominated on my server the Alliance marketplace and then the neutral auction house as well. Because I realized, oh, wait, hold on, I can't access the Horde, so I have to sell to them somehow. So I started selling exotic pets or Alliance only stuff on the neutral auction house. And that's how I made a lot of money that way too. And then, of course, when basically my friends all kind of quit the game, I stopped raiding as much. I literally built a whole new entire alliance to have an alliance bank that then I could put all my inventory, like from my trading accounts, whatever, from my merchanting in there. So then I was prospecting. I would literally get the entire server on the alliance side again. Like they would COD, right? Cash on delivery or collect on delivery, me raw material so I can go prospect because I don't want to go mine stuff. So they would send me raw material. So these are my miners, source. Then I prospect, which means you take the materials and you like try to get a gemstone out of them, and then you can cut the gemstone. So that's the kind of like stuff I did. And with the other ores, I would like craft PvP gear to sell it to the people who were playing those kind of things. Dude, I owned the entire auction house. There was nobody else who could even like do anything to me the way that I was pricing my items, the way that I was sourcing. So I had the best stuff for the cheapest price. So yeah, I mean, you can imagine you kind of dominated. So I also then cashed out. So I went ahead and I did basically sell gold on WoW. And then of course I got banned for it. So my account, I think even as of today, is still banned. And yes, it still has the guild stashes with tons of gold and tons of materials that I would never be able to collect again. But I think it doesn't matter now, right? Like most of that stuff is like useless because WoW has kind of, power creep beyond that, I think. So it doesn't matter. All right. Ed Steminator says, congrats on 3Ks. Curious on a personal level, do you have a wife, a kid, or just a cat? You're in the Bay Area, so rent ain't cheap. Also, what's the longer term goal of the channel? Patreon with discount products, OnlyFans with feet. Yeah, no OnlyFans. I'm sorry. Maybe we'll do OnlyFans with me playing card games with people. Some ideas. Yes, I do have a wife and kid. One kid. It's really cool. No cats, no dogs. I'm actually very allergic to cats, so I have to take takes like antihistamines whenever I go visit my friends who has a cat, and it's very cute, but just I'm very allergic. Yeah, Bay Area sucks. It's very expensive to live here for sure, but it is what it is. I love the weather, so I kind of pay for it. Imagine, I think of it as like an air conditioning tax. So I pay the tax of living in Bay Area, so I don't have to buy air conditioning. There's that. Longer term goal of the channel, yeah. So as you've seen, Patreon's definitely here. But longer term, I don't know. I don't really have a goal specifically, but just to keep growing the channel. I like what I'm doing. I like the way that I'm interfacing with my audience. I just think like if I just have a lot of things to say, and I probably will never run out. That's the kind of things I want to talk about. And also a little bit more, and more you're going to see videos where I kind of sometimes just do a little life lesson. Part of this also becomes, important for me that I want a way to pass on some of the knowledge and some of the ways I think through a problem through a tidbit that I can somehow share with my daughter. So I think longer term in the channel, I do think I need to get a little bit better about being concise with my answers, being concise with the way I describe a problem or answer questions. And then, of course, creating a library of material that people can look upon and say, oh, no, now I know how to, for example, authenticate cards. Now I know what to do to build confidence, those kind of things. I think that kind of thing is a little bit beyond Magic the Gathering, beyond any card game, but I also think it's very important personally. So there's that. Okay. Pa Biz says, ever consider recording your mass openings and posting them like 3x speed just to have some content alongside with the conversations? I know it's someone else's mass opening. I know if it's someone else's mass box opening, when they are slow, it becomes almost unwatchable for me personally. Yeah, absolutely. I found the same. My box openings get very little views. I think part of it is because I am very slow about it. Part of it also, I do like describing the cards and showing people things. So sometimes it's kind of like a balance, right? It's almost like this type of video is for somebody else. I have thought about opening, doing like, have something in the background while I'm talking. So that's a pretty good idea. I will definitely consider it. And maybe we'll test it and see if it works well. Sometimes though, I think people like me looking at them and then it somehow makes it a difference. I don't know. Maybe I could do like mass boxing opening here or something. I guess everyone's so distracted nowadays. We have to have multi videos. But maybe just enjoy my content as a podcast. I think a lot of people tell me that and I actually think that's fine. I like that too. Max Fun asks, how many boxes do you normally open for each set? Also, do you open any other games other than Magic? Yes, other games right now. Grand Archive is definitely the things I'm opening. How many sets do I open for? How many boxes do I open for each set? When I was doing singles, very easily 40 boxes for each set. It's very easy. Probably even higher than that because I have to count for pre-release kits, bundles, a collector's booster, other things that are supplemental to what I open. So there's a lot. So yeah, quite a bit of money into it. So wouldn't recommend it if you don't know how to sell those things quickly. Okay, looking at time. Oh, we're going to run out of time soon. Okay, Alan asks, what do you think is one of the greatest challenges that you see in your line of work? Where do you see the industry going in the next 5 years? And last question, if there was one sealed box you could buy as many as you like from the past 5 years, you could suddenly get more of, what would it be and why? Greatest challenges I see in my line of work. As a content creator, one of the things that I'm always afraid of is actually, I do want to get close to my audience. I do want to build personal relationships. But now more than ever, I do fear that privacy is a problem. So I think one of the greatest fears and greatest concerns I always have is maybe there's privacy issues, right? So that's, as you get bigger, there's always concerns like that. I think Rudy has talked about it where his store has become kind of like a vacation tourism spot, which kind of sucks, obviously, as he just wants to run a store. But maybe if that's not the angle that you're that's my fear, I guess. Greatest challenge, I think, honestly, is just time. If I could tell any of the young people out there watching me today, what would I do differently? What do I think? Reflecting on, where I am now. I would say if there's something you really want to do it now. Do not wait until you're old and do not wait until you have a family and responsibilities and other things. It will take away a ton of your time. So challenge is time. Where do you see the industry going in the 5 years? I think TCG as a whole is going to continue to boom. It's going to be very popular. From what I can tell right now, I think the world is moving more and more into a otaku culture. The more being inside your house type of thing is normal now, normalized. So I don't see that going away. Now, as far as the last question goes about the sealed boosters, sealed box, if there's one sealed box that I could have more of, I think everybody probably would say Commander Legends, the first one, the collector's boosters. I personally think that I would love to have more of, honestly, Modern Horizons 1. MH1 was so interesting. It's such an interesting product. I think it tried a lot of things. I mean, did you know MH1 is where art cards came from? So before MH1, there was no such thing as art cards, and now we have it in set boosters. MH1 was also the first set that had like kind of this idea of combining a lot of really interesting, powerful cards together. That's not true. I guess we have master sets for that. So yeah, I think I would still call it MH1. I think there's a lot of things that they tried. Obviously, for having a basically master set for modern was definitely more interesting. And you know, a lot of times that's one of the reasons I like drafting or playing modern sets or built for modern sets or built for masters or master sets, is because a lot of times their power level is higher, so you feel like the game is a little bit more dynamic. And also they put elements, they being WotC, put elements into those games where it's definitely intended for you to go discover the solution. And I like that a lot. I like the fact that they built in things that are great for players who are a little bit more advanced that go find the answer, and that's cool. Okay, Marty Cruz asks, what is the most powerful deck you own? I don't really own a lot of decks, so the only thing I have that's like pretty good is my Casserole deck. So I've kind of upgraded that deck quite a bit. And at this point, basically, I figure out ways I can kind of like combo off in about 2 or 3 turns to at least kill one player on the table, if not multiple of them. So there's that. Casserole deck is definitely one of my powerful decks because there's just certain cards that if I put in the right combination of, I can essentially win the game fairly quickly. So there's that. The Southern Geeks asks, okay, so I've been selling cardboard for a while now, and I only am able to get stock through retail. Is there any options you can share for someone that doesn't have a brick and mortar, just strictly online? No. It depends on, I guess, what the game is. I know that Pokemon, you could sometimes distributors will have you or would let online stores open accounts with them, and obviously that means that you can then get Pokemon cards. But I think that has also closed because they realize how bad that was, you know, with anyway. So there's a lot of issues with that too. So I think at this point, basically, you're looking at brick and mortar. Some other options I can probably give you is you just have to go and figure out maybe some stores might want to work with you or something like that. Again, it's pretty rare, and you may have to do quite a bit of quantity, but maybe. I mean, essentially now, because of Amazon, because of other places, a lot of stores are basically pushed to the point where they have to sell at ridiculous prices anyways. And so if you give them the option of like, hey, look, you basically are getting what, 10% margins, 15% margins? What if I give you, let's say, 10% margins and I buy like a lot of product? There may be a thing there. So there's that. But otherwise, no. I mean, that's why Rudy has a store, because he realized he also needs a brick mortar to go talk to distribution. Otherwise, they're basically legally not allowed to sell to him. Similar, in my situation too. So there's that. Cool. Walter Daniel Sotomayor asks, at what point of opening boxes or cases does it become profitable, and do you enjoy it? Okay. I've considered maybe entering buying boxes, cases to make money on the side apart from my job, but probably a bad idea. Yeah. Opening boxes for singles and selling them is definitely a bad idea. If you just want to know what that looks like, look at the EV of every single set and then compare that to basically, the actual cost of that booster box. If you still don't believe me, go watch Professor's video where he does, is it worth it to open whatever, right? The booster box challenge game or whatever. And you'll notice that the video doesn't go on forever, right? Remember, all his criteria is I have to make the cards in the box I open have to be at least the cost of the box, right? Otherwise I stop. Well, you notice how he doesn't keep going forever. Why? Because it's not a guarantee, and most of the time he does lose money. Now, you could say, well, maybe I have to open like a lot of boxes and it'll even out okay for me. That used to be very true way back in the old school days, but no longer. And I think part of that is because there's a ton of more cards out there. So it's really made it harder for everyone to go and sell their product at a better rate. And the other part of it too is also just because, well, look, it's the hype, and people were expecting a lot more now from boxes, from markets, and there's a lot more products being opened, and there's a lot more rares being pushed. So if you guys didn't know, right, one of the reasons why I think a lot of rares have now gone down in price in Magic the Gathering is because there's just more rares printed, period. And while it is still true in draft boosters, you're looking at one rare, right, all that stuff. In the set boosters, for example, oftentimes you'll have 2, 3, 4, 5 rares even, and mythic rares. So, excuse me. So that's why like a lot of these things are definitely just not worth your time anymore. My personal opinion on that is, look, if you enjoy it, if you like doing the things, like I used to really enjoy it, opening packs. I got pretty good at it too, and sorting cards and this kind of thing. But as I realized too, more and more, I just don't have time to do that anymore. So look, if you have a lot of side time, side hustle time, whatever, you can definitely go do that. It may be totally okay, but honestly, long term, it's just probably not in your favor to do that. You're probably better off doing something else with your time. If you just want to earn, again, what's your goal, right? If you want to just earn more money, I recommend getting a second job, really. More, like, okay, work at a game store. Honestly, if it's something you enjoy, go work at a game store. You probably will be opening packs and you'll be selling stuff. You'll have access to, products at a very cheap price. But here's the best part. It's not your risk. If you open the boxes and the box doesn't come out to be, at the right number, right? Meaning you lost money on the box. Guess what? It's the store. It's not you. You didn't lose money on the box. So you could still do all that stuff without having the risk, right? And you get paid a steady wage instead of like, what if you did really well? What if you did really poorly? Don't gamble, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so there's that. It's probably not worth it, but there's that. Okay, so those are all the questions. I've gone through all of them now. I think there's a couple questions I didn't answer, but partially because they're going to be expanded out into larger videos anyways, from my patrons mostly. So they're going to see those separately. Of course, sorry, I want to make it very clear. The patron videos, the patron requests will be also made videos. They're basically videos on this channel, on this YouTube channel. You don't have to be a patron to enjoy the videos. But obviously, being a patron allows you to kind of direct some of those things. We do monthly patron suggested videos. So, patrons make recommendations. I then take them in. We normally do a vote on it, and then we pick the best video that everyone voted on. That's the content we're going to make for that month for the patrons specifically. For this month, we are going to be, because a lot of the questions are so good, I just figured we're going to make videos on all of them. So they're going to get videos on all of them. There's that. Yeah, but otherwise, I really enjoy this whole AMA thing. I think this is kind of what I needed. So I told some of you guys earlier too, I really think for me personally, I'm a dialogue person. I'm not a monologue person. I know I get on camera, I talk for, many, many, many minutes, but it is actually kind of difficult. And I definitely think my better moments are when I can interact and interface with people. Even if it's just a question submitted to me, I can answer that question better than I can try to monologue a solution. So I think what I'll do is that I will not wait for like the next big major subscription number before we do a AMA. I think once in a while, and I don't want to promise anything right now because I don't know if I have time to do this. Once in a while, we will just do some AMAs, and we're going to have like, hey, we're going to do AMA, and there's that, and then, have that be part of the whole process. So, basically it will be the same thing, right? SLG, AMA, and then you guys submit your questions. I go through them, I look at them, and then I try to answer them. Maybe we'll do them like shorter, where I basically have the question submission open for a week, and then have you guys submit them, and then I'll close it out, and then we'll do the questions, and then whatever's left over, we'll do it on the next like cycle through, maybe every quarter or something like that. If you have other suggestions for how to do this better, love to hear it. nowadays with a lot of people commenting, it is harder for me to go read through every single YouTube comment, but I still, oftentimes, even if I don't thumb up your comment or like your comment, I am reading through everybody's comment. So there's that. Harder now than before to do that, but I still try because I think it's very important and interesting to go and understand perspectives out in the field from everybody, because everyone thinks differently, and that's really interesting to me. So there's that. This is Mark from SolarGames. I hope you enjoy the AMA series. And again, remember, we did this because it was really a celebration of 3,333 subscribers. So I do want to end this in just thanking all of you. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and believing in me and subscribing and commenting and all the stuff that you do, because that shows me that you have interest, and that motivates me to do more videos for all of you. So that's why I do it. Mark, SolarGames, stay classy and have a great day.